Welcome to Film Study, an all American podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and comment all of the things. Here's an episode on Jordan Baker and just reviewing his characters from season 1 up through season 4A. So we did this before 408 and Homecoming episode 1 premiered. So it was a little bit of a while ago, but hope you enjoy it. And I'm really excited because I've been trying to do this particular breakdown for a while, but I have Noel on. I stalk his Twitter all the time. And we're going to be talking about Jordan Baker. So let's get into it. Number one, Noel, thanks for joining the pod.
Thanks for having me. When I got your message, I was like, me? Like, of all people, me?
No, you're so funny. You're so funny. And I know that you love Jordan. And again, I've been trying to do this breakdown on Jordan's character for a while. What do you think sort of about Jordan's character overall?
Overall, I feel like he's an easy character to understand. Like, I feel like the audience kind of gives him too much crap. Like, I feel like they act like it's so hard to understand him. Like, he comes from a rich family, and he has problems with trying to be enough. Like, I feel like that's something
Right.
anybody can relate to.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I always say that. In transparency, Jordan is probably if I had tiers of character, Jordan's probably somewhere in the second tier of my favorites because I think Jordan is hilarious, and I think that he's really up and down for me, but I don't like. There's some characters that I just don't like in the show, and Jordan is not one of those characters. I think Jordan is funny, is where I'm at most of the time. And he's good natured, and I think that he has a good heart. He just gets himself into trouble a lot of the
Yeah,
time,
exactly.
for sure. But I do hear where you're coming from, and I agree. Is that I think he definitely gets a bad rep sometimes, for sure, for
I
sure.
think it's just like anytime he, like, I guess, bothers or like does something in complicating
Right,
him and Spencer's relationship, that's where people would draw the
exactly.
line.
He's definitely a hothead, and
Yeah,
he gets himself into
I
trouble.
think that's what makes him a great character because like he can't just be perfect all the time. Like there's got to be the levels. Like there's got to be stuff that makes you want to go, ugh. You know?
Right. Exactly. No, I feel you. I feel you. Um, and so thinking about season 1 and sort of where we meet Jordan, he's, the captain of the football team. He sort of very quickly, I think, welcomes in quotation Spencer
Yeah.
to Beverly. As we know, he and Spencer got off to a bit of a rocky start, because something that's core to Jordan's character is his relationship or lack thereof with his dad. And I think he and Spencer share that, is like this uh them both sort of having these issues with their dad. Spencer, it was all about trying to prove his father wrong, and I think for Jordan it's about trying to prove, trying to prove himself to his dad.
Yeah.
um and so right away we see that sort of impacting Spencer's sort of welcome into into the Beverly world. But what did you think about Spencer and Jordan's whole relationship in season 1 and how Jordan handled that?
Season one, there was definitely a progression with them, but I feel like I really liked them in season one because I feel like by from the beginning to the end, you could just tell that they were solidified as brothers by the end. Because
Hmm.
like first
Right.
Jordan like literally tried to get him kicked out, and then by the end of season one, wait, I'm trying to make sure I'm not messing up season one and season two. No, by the end of season
No,
one,
you're right. You're
like
right.
they played in the
He started
championship
out,
game together and all that. I was about to say that like Jordan
yeah.
supported him leaving, but I was like, wait, no, that was season two.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, you're right though. Is that, but when we sort of first go into the show, he messed up Spencer's transfer permit. He But I think after that is really where Jordan starts to realize, like, hey, I'm being too hard on Spencer. My real issues with my
Yeah.
dad, and he starts to really, like you said, view him as a brother, and so he just goes through the season, sort of getting closer to Spencer, um,
He literally
and
went
just
to, like,
throughout.
their cookout, literally, like, episode 3, he, like,
Right,
went to
yeah, yeah.
Connolly
Like
over
early
to
on, he went
Crenshaw,
to
yep.
exactly to Crenshaw to hang out with him to see what he's about. And you get this sense that Jordan just sort of really and I know some people might disagree with me on this, but I think the sense that Jordan really cares for the people that he really starts to get to know. And I think we saw that early on because he did spend that time in Crenshaw with Spencer. But apart from Spencer, you know, you in the first season we see Jordan sort of go through a range of different experiences. Really, he thought that he thought that Spencer was his half
Yeah.
brother at some point, and like dragged Olivia into this like quest to find out if Spencer was their half brother. Spoiler alert: obviously, he's not. And then he got himself into trouble because he was dating Ripley, this girl from a different high school, and his teammates weren't happy about it. And she got him to smoke pot, and he almost got in trouble with a drug test. We see him like coming to terms with his relationship with football, and just all of these things. Like he was, I forgot how many storylines Jordan had and how much he was involved with in
Right? No,
season one.
I forgot about the whole drug test thing, like, and how Billy, like, I was they was doing the most.
They were doing the most. They were absolutely doing the most. But I think all of that can be encapsulated. I think Jordan's story in season 1 is again sort of trying to impress Billy and specifically trying to impress Billy with football because later on in the season we see him start to train with his grandfather GW, and build this connection with him because you know he thinks that his dad isn't pushing him hard enough, and he sees other guys on the team. He sees Spencer, you know, as great as he is at football. He sees Chris, right? He sees all these other people who are really good at football, and he's just like, my dad doesn't push me to be that great, and so that's really his goal at the end of season 1 is to be the best at football that he can be. Again, to sort of impress his dad, and then starting to figure out that he wants football for himself, but really that sort of all blows up
Yeah.
because of the affair.
Oh, I mean, literally, I forgot so much stuff happened in season 1,
Right.
wow.
Right. So, thinking about his relationship with GW, why do you think Jordan connected with him so easily?
I think he connected to him so easily because I guess in a sense it was helping him, like, discover, like, where exactly his father came from. Because I feel like the thing with Jordan is he wants his father's approval. Like, during the it was, like, the game his
Right.
father didn't let him play, he, like, trained with GW, got GW to convince Billy to let him in, if I'm correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, and, like, I feel like the way he was able to connect with GW so easily was because he just wanted to be accepted, and, like, GW was willing to essentially get back at Billy in a way.
Right. Facts. What I always laugh about when we think about this GW thing, and I meant to go back and look at how this resolved itself, but it was so funny because then GW ended up asking Jordan for money,
Oh, yes!
so that relationship soured a little bit. But eventually, he was just like, "He's my grandfather," and you know, it resolved itself. But that was so fun. Jordan is just so trusting of
He
people. I
really
think in season
is.
1 especially, he's super naive. He blindly trusts like
Ripley,
Ripley. She
yeah.
gets him into trouble. And yeah, he's just like, yeah, I think he goes about life sort of very naively, and he's like, you know, freaking out about this drug test, doesn't know what to do, and then he thinks the drug test just sorted itself out until he finds out the Billy covered for him. Like he just goes about life sort of very almost carefree. I
Yeah,
think that would
yeah.
be a really good way to describe Jordan. Um, and but that again, we talked about how he's kind of a hothead, and so when his world comes crashing down and he can't be as carefree anymore when he finds out about his dad's affair, we really see him like shifting into season 2. We see him sort of like lashing out, acting out,
Yeah.
in Olivia's words, like his own gross, weird version of The Bachelor, like just dating all of these women, getting high. Like, I think he was like getting high while crashing a car, right? I think that's what was happening.
Yeah, and it was like a different girl like every scene.
Every single scene, so much so again that like Laura ends up grounding him, because she gave him too much leeway, and then after he's grounded, because Billy's trying to get on his back on his good side, he just sort of lets Jordan get away with it, and Jordan ends up crashing a car.
Yeah. I'm remembering one of the scenes where Jordan literally he just ends practice. He's like, "I think we're done for the day," or something like that. He
Right,
literally
yeah.
just had
he
that much
was
control, like, because Billy just wanted to be on his good
he
side.
was wild, yeah, he was really wild. I can't, like, especially on the football field, he would just challenge his dad all of the time. And even Spencer was like, "Dude, you're being a
Right.
distraction at this point. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy." But yeah, so he just continues this, doesn't really learn his lesson. Like I said, Laura grounds him, but something that we all know sort of eventually teaches him this lesson that you can't just sort of go through life as carefree as you've been going through life, is the fact that, it's his birthday. He's been sleeping with all of these women, and Simone comes to him and says, "I'm pregnant and the baby is yours."
Oh my god.
Or so he thought at the time.
No, but what I really like is he really stepped up, though.
He did, and let's. I'm excited to talk about him stepping up because I feel like that was really a shift
Character
for his
development, yeah.
character. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because again, before that time, he had been like acting out, lashing out. Even when he wasn't acting out and lashing out, like we said, he was very carefree, very naive.
Immature. I
But
think we
this
could just say it.
time,
Immature.
yeah, immature too, immature. Um, and so this time it's really like causing him to think about what's next. And since he's now found out that he wants football not just for his dad but for himself, he starts to try to balance this idea of being a dad and also being a good football player.
Yeah.
So what do you think how do you think he dealt with that?
Honestly, I think he dealt with it, like, for a 17-year-old, it was mature because he left the game. I think it was like a scrimmage or
Right,
something. He left to go to the clinic and well, not the clinic, but like the appointment, and like he really stepped
right,
up because like everybody knew he had to step up, and he just went ahead and did it. Like, and
exactly.
even like after he found out it wasn't his, like he was still there for her. Like, I think that's important. Like, despite like how
Yeah,
everything turned out,
yeah,
like he was still there. Like he didn't leave. Like he was gonna, but then Olivia talked to him, and like we just hit the nail head on. Like you can't just like abandon her, you know. Like she trusted you.
exactly.
Yeah, Simone trusted him. Like, and like even like the whole like what's his name? Dane? Is it Dane? Simone's ex?
Right,
Yeah.
Dane.
Like he literally only just pops up just to like be like, oh, how you doing, Baker Boy? Like something like that. Like
Right.
Jordan like really stepped up. Like I feel like
Yeah.
out of all the seasons, season two is his most character development.
Right. No, no, and I agree. And I think it was really interesting to see those extremes because I think season 2 we saw the worst of Jordan for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
And I
two
think that
A.
we also saw yeah, exactly. And we saw the best of Jordan, and Jordan really learning how to take responsibility with the help of Liv. I gotta shout out Liv, my
Yep,
homegirl,
yep.
my favorite character. But like with the help of Liv, uh, and her sort of saying like you got to man up, take your responsibilities. Uh, his father Billy actually, and this is one thing that I did appreciate, is that, Billy didn't necessarily tell him what to do, but when Jordan chose to do the right thing, he said, I was waiting on you to make that
Yeah.
decision. When he was like I think it was like at a scrimmage or something, and he was
Yeah.
just like, I gotta
Yep.
leave the scrimmage and be there for Simone. Um, and he also learned, because again, his parents are still,
Yeah.
still
On the
separated, and
rocks, like
everything that's going on is going on. And so he's learning again that it's not just one or the other parent that he can go to, that he can go to both parents, and he can say how he feels about their relationship, right? When they attend that therapy session, and he's just like, my mom doesn't think we hear her crying like in the shower, and I don't think that's the sign of a healthy relationship. So he's starting to be more
growing up.
vocal about things, exactly, growing up, and about the way that he feels, and like you said, sort of becoming a bit more mature, for sure, and sort of being, and like being honest, like he was forced, I think, to become a little bit more mature
No, okay,
with the
yeah.
situation with Simone. But
Trying not
he's
to get
he's
jumped.
learning. Yes, so he's learning
Yeah.
learning to become more mature. Um, and so with that being said, he's manning up, he's taking responsibility for his actions, and then he finds out that
It's not his.
it's
You are
not
not the
his
father.
baby. It's not his baby.
No, no, because I remember watching it. I was just like, oh, like, because I was just like,
Right,
that's crazy. Like, I didn't, because I honestly thought he was, because I thought the way they were going with that storyline, he was really just gonna have the baby with her and become a teen dad,
right,
or like adoption.
exactly.
That's what I thought it was gonna lead to. But like, then
Yeah.
it's not his.
It was really surprising when it happened, when she was just like, "It's not yours." I was like,
Right? I was just like, what? He got the family heirloom. Like what?
Oh, first of all, I was upset that Billy even gave him the family heirloom in the first place, and the fact that he was gonna give it away to Simone, I'm like, "Sir,
It's
what
like,
are you doing? This is
what?
not even your baby, and you're trying to give away your family
Yeah, it's
heirloom?
like
What
he
is
was still
that
trying to give.
about?"
Wasn't he still trying to give it away after the fact? Like,
Yes, he literally was still like, "Here you go, all of this is yours." But like, to that point, it's so funny because we saw him again. Like we said, like he's a hothead, and he sort of just does. He acts very much in the moment, and he reacts very quickly to things. And so immediately his reaction to that was, and of course, right, rightfully so, was to
yeah,
be angry. But again, Liv was just like, there are no sides in terms of, am I on your side or am I on Simone's side? I'm on the side of the baby.
yeah,
And like it or not, like, this girl is in high school and she's having a baby and she's very scared. And so even though his immediate reaction was
to run.
anger,
Yeah,
right, to run, that conversation with Liv really made him think more broadly about what was going on. And I think for him, in that sense, it became, once again, sort of about not just like, this isn't my baby anymore, so I don't have to be responsible, but to just be caring even if it's not his.
exactly. Yeah,
And what I think is interesting about that is that this is sort of, and now listen. I know some people are not going to be happy with me because I
oh,
said this, but this is sort of before he and Simone really have like their romance has started.
yeah,
That he goes to Simone right after she says all of this, and he's just like, I want to be there for the baby. The books are yours. Like, this is yours. Like, I'm still going to be in the baby's life. And so he built a connection, and I think that idea that, being on the baby's side really stuck with him. And I don't know, I'm like, this is just theory that I have, but like, maybe it's because of his dad. Like,
I think
maybe
so.
the
Yeah,
sense from his issues from his dad, and he's just like, you know what? I also like want to be there for this baby
because
because it's
he
not,
doesn't want
the
to make the
baby's
same
fault.
mistakes his father made. That's how I see it.
Exactly. Exactly. And even though the baby wasn't his, he felt that sense of responsibility even after knowing that the baby wasn't his, and even before really really falling for Simone, he took that responsibility. So I just think that's really something interesting that I don't think that I had noticed about Jordan's character in that. But sort of after that, we really see him starting to get back to normal, and like back to normal, but better, like more mature. He's grown up a little bit. And so, he's doing things like reconnecting with his dad, working to get his dad his job, or like keep his dad's
Yeah.
job for him. Like when Beverly is going crazy,
Yep.
standing up for his dad and things like that, which is
Oh, wow,
something that we
Spencer
really
was
didn't
shot.
see.
Like, wow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All while Spencer is shot, being there for Spencer, being at the hospital, um, being there for Layla.
Yeah. No, because what I don't
Something.
get is the cotillion episode. Like, literally, how was I not supposed to ship them? Like,
Right.
because
Right.
it literally
Right.
seemed like you forgot about Simone. Like, sorry.
Right. What happened to Simone in the Cotillion episode?
Right?
I wanna know about that. But again, to say that like Jordan really fell for Simone, I think, after the cotillion, after, you know, he found out that the baby wasn't his. I don't think that he was necessarily trying to get back into a relationship with Simone
Hmm.
prior to sort of almost the ending of season two. And it was like after helping her out and after connecting with her through being there for her, that's when he really was just like, I like you,
And
and
then she
I
made the highlight
thank
reel. I
you.
forgot about that, but she
Right
made the
after
highlight.
she made the highlight reel, she was just like, "Oh, he was just like, this girl cares for me," and so like, do I care for her? Yeah, I care for her. That's a good deal. And so that really started to come sort of in the later episodes, in my opinion, of season two, was him really starting to be there for Simone. But this was happening, again, as he was reconnecting with his dad. Um, like after the whole cotillion situation.
Because I feel like if the cotillion episode didn't exist, then I guess I would be like, okay, I guess we are clowns and stuff. But come on now, like the
Oh,
second
for
scene,
Jadela? For
yes,
Jadela?
for like the second scene when he's looking at her at the table.
Right, right. Yeah, the look that he gave her at the table. I'm gonna say this. And again, I only saw this preparing for this podcast. Like, this is something I just noticed. The episodes that had like the skating rink and the cotillion were back to back.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is that as Layla is in rehab, again thinking about like what's happening in the background, we all know that Jordan was saying these things like, shouldn't you just be honest with her? And like,
Yeah.
how's Layla? So he was already like pretty concerned about Layla, I think, um, even before the cotillion, like in this very same episode, right, where he's like, "How's Layla? Should you be honest with her?" As Olivia and Asher,
Yeah.
starting to date. Thank goodness
Unfortunately,
that's over.
yep. Thank you.
Right, exactly. Thank goodness that's over. But he was concerned with Layla while she was in rehab, and then after she came out of rehab, then he's just like, you know, encouraging her and saying like it's okay, and like as you mentioned, like the look, and encouraging her with Spencer. So that was just really interesting that those two situations were back to back, and as he's encouraging her with Spencer, that's after that is when he starts to fall more heavily for Simone.
Yep.
Be that as it may, connect the dots where you will.
Oh,
That's all I'm gonna say.
because what I noticed with them is every time they give each other advice, like each other will like start going towards a person.
Right,
Yeah.
right. For sure, for sure. They definitely give each other, I think, advice about love very
Yep.
often in the future. Um, and very often meaning like for the amount of scenes that they have together. But yeah, that like that's sort of season two. Um, Again, he's grown up a little bit, and he's matured, and he's starting to really say like I'm gonna slow down, and I'm gonna be with Simone and enjoy it and see where it goes. And as we get into season three, we see they grew so close, right, that they
Got married.
fell in love.
The marriage.
The marriage, right? They grew so close that they fell in love and they got married. Um, and they got married at the time where they said like it doesn't
It doesn't like mean.
matter,
Yeah.
right? Right. Well, like it doesn't matter about like where we are in life. It doesn't matter our differences, or how much we know about each other, or how soon it is. Is that we love each other and we want to show that. And I think that's really um I think that's admirable to go for something that you want like that. And again, I think that Jordan seems to like fall headfirst into whatever he's doing, and so it makes a lot of sense for him to do that.
Out of all the couples that get married first on the show, like them, it surprised me, but at the same time, I was like, the way the relationship, like, they just like go for their milestones so fast, like it didn't like surprise me.
For sure, for sure. Um, and so we obviously, we as the audience didn't know about Vegas until episode seven. But what we do see is Jordan and Simone getting closer, and him being very concerned with again like being there for her and juggling these responsibilities. We see that his dad isn't at Beverly anymore. His dad is now the coach at Crenshaw, and so um he I think struggles with that at first a
Abandonment, I
little bit.
feel like, because
Right,
Spencer left
abandonment, and then
too.
having right, and Spencer left as well, and having to sort of, even though he was already the team captain, right? He's done all this work to train with GW, etc. He helped train Spencer a little bit in season two. So he's done this work and really put in the effort in football, and he's just like, who am I without my dad on the
Right,
football
right.
field, without Spencer next to me? Obviously, they went to the championship with Spencer, so that's a really big deal. And so he is sort of in this situation where he has to impress Coach Montez, and he struggles with that at first, until he finally starts to sort of carve out his own leadership. Leadership on the football field apart from his dad and apart from Spencer. So, what did you think about that?
That's why that's one of the main parts I really liked about season three, even though that season was very rocky, is that he starts to come into his like own, like in terms of
Hmm.
like what he wants and how he's gonna go about it, like. Because during season three, a lot of stuff happens to him. The marriage, football, the concussion storyline
Right.
was so sad. Because like he didn't think he was gonna be able to play football like for the championship game, or was it like ever again? I think it was just
I think it was ever again.
yeah, like that's crazy. Because I think what he was trying to do is he was trying to prove that he was enough. Because Montez,
Right.
she wasn't like could the I'm trying to find the word. She wasn't like babying
No, you're
him like his father. Because like even though his dad's hard on him, his dad does like still see him as a child. And
right.
like Montez, she was just treating him how to be the best player he can be because she knew that he has
Exactly.
potential.
Right. Right. For sure. You're absolutely spot on. And um that being said, like you said, is like was trying to prove his worth, and I think that follows through because he ends up cheating
Yep,
this
concussion.
concussion protocol after he got a concussion, goes back too early, gets knocked out of a game, and then we see this really big theme with him that I think that because of everything else that was going on in that season really got a bit, I think, overlooked.
Yes, I feel
Again,
like
now
there
that
was
I'm
so much more they
reflecting.
could have done with that.
Right, right. Well, and he like legitimately, Spencer points it out, is that he's in a bit of a depression,
Yeah,
right? He even tells Simone, like in between, you think he goes through this sort of up and down, like he's fine. He has this talk with Spencer. about how people don't need to tiptoe around him, and then the very next episode he says things like to Simone, like, "You hitched your life to a guy that had a future, and I don't have a future, and without football, I'm nothing." And so he really got into a bit of a like mild depression there, which is so interesting. And what pulled him back, I think, was football and his love for football, and then trying to be great. And I think that's so interesting, because I'm like, I don't know if Jordan has a I don't know if Jordan has reached a place where he has a healthy relationship with football yet.
Yeah, because I feel like he's just been playing because that's all he knows.
Right, right, right. And to say something like "I'm nothing without football" is really interesting. So now I'm happy that he's put in work. Obviously, he ends up training with Spencer and getting back, and doing the championship. And this is going a little bit into season 4 as well. And he um, starts to focus on getting a scholarship, and is really concerned about like where he's going to be play at college. But it will be interesting to see, you know, with him not being starter level for
Mhm.
college, is he going to start to explore himself? And we'll get into this, like where we see his character going. But are we going to see him sort of start to explore more things outside of football, and start to realize that football isn't everything?
Cause like you see, like everybody has their niche thing. Like Olivia journalism, S- Spencer football, Layla her music. Like you see,
Right.
like they have their other interest outside of football. Cause Spencer, his main interest is his family, his
Right.
friends, Superman. I'm gonna call
His
him Superman.
community.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
community, and like everybody, they have like a plan, like what they're gonna do outside of like football. Like even JJ, like influencer. But like
Hmm.
Jordan, all we know is that he likes football. Like we don't know what he likes outside of football, what he wants to do if he couldn't play football. Like we haven't really gotten into that much.
Right. 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 And so it'll be interesting to see where they take his story in relation to football, because we've seen him now achieve this degree where it's just like, okay, you're gonna be a walk-on, um a walk-on quarterback. He has a walk-on offer, to or like, what is it called, reserve, but either way, to be like a secondary quarterback for Golden Angeles. I
Angels, yeah.
always want to call it the Golden Arches,
I keep
because
calling
that's
it
just what
Golden
I'm gonna call it on the
Angels.
podcast. um So, with that being said, so that was Jordan in football and all of that through season 3, and the other half of that, which we already started talking about, was him and Simone getting married, and really just throughout season 3 trying to navigate their marriage. Eventually, their parents finding out, and we weren't sure if they were gonna stay married, but then the parents ultimately decided, like,
Get
yes,
married.
you can
Yep.
stay married. It's about to be like official. Y'all already married. We're about to have a ceremony, and bam.
What I wonder is if
Simone is like,
because
I want to go to
Princeton, yep.
Princeton. Simone is like, I want to go to Princeton, and Jordan was ready to follow her to Princeton, but there were, in particular, the people who knew about it. There were only two people who knew about it, but the two people who knew about it, the two of the women in his life,
Mm,
said, "Is this really your dream?"
yeah.
Uh, and the first question, the question that I just asked, that came from Layla,
Yep.
and this
That seems honestly so underrated.
really, why do you think that?
I feel because people do like to make a lot of parallels to it from the scene from 406, but I feel like it's very
Mhm.
underrated because she's kind of reading him in a sense. She's just like, is this
Yeah,
really what you want or what Simone wants? And like, it's a very
right,
understanding. Like that's why I love about their friendship, relationship, whatever people want to call it, is that
right,
they're very understanding of each other. Like I feel like
yeah.
people overlook that. Like I get if you don't want to ship them, but like you gotta admit they're very understanding of each other.
That's very true. No, what I think is interesting about that scene is like the almost like I don't know the audacity of Layla to say that to this man who's about
To
to
get
get
married
married. Like
again.
in effect he's following his wife, and she's just like, "What do you mean?" Like that's just absurd to me. And like it's really funny that she's just like, "Oh, why would you follow your wife to Atlanta? Don't you have dreams here?" No, and it like everything that she was saying was correct, but the fact that
She was
felt
essentially
bold enough,
stopping
like
the
you said,
wedding
she's essentially something the way. But not even that, just like the fact that she felt bold enough to say it,
at the
and
rehearsal
it
dinner.
right at the rehearsal. And then obviously his like actual wife says the same thing, and she's just like, Brixton is my dream, and I know that it's not yours, and I want you to accomplish your dreams. And so I think one, some of the things that I appreciate about Simone and Jordan's relationship is that they are very honest with each
They want
other.
what's
I
best
think
for each
like
other, like, above
they want
all.
what's best for each other for sure. And even though right, they said like like we don't keep secrets from each other. We may not know everything about each other, but we love each other, and we're committed to we're committed to finding out the things that we need
Yep.
to know about each other, right? And so when it comes to these huge things like dreams and what has been your dream, they encourage each other so steadfastly to go for what they want, even though it might not be um even though it might not be like selfish. Like
Yep.
selfishly I'm sure they would want to stay together, but their dreams unfortunately have kept them at least geographically apart. um, and so but the fact that they still want that for each other is refreshing, and I think it's like such a healthy part of their relationship. And so yeah, I appreciate them for that, and I appreciate that relationship for that they encourage each other to live in the moment and go for their dreams for sure.
Yep.
And so again, that's sort of ending in season three. So they decide, we're gonna go back to being boyfriend and girlfriend for now. So it's and it like Jordan said, like it made sense for them, and they don't need to explain it to anybody, and that they're just gonna remain committed to each other. And so in the season four, we don't see a ton of Simone,
Yeah, that that
because as we
that kinda
know,
bothered
we're
me.
about to see a.
Like,
It
I
did
get
bother
that
me.
she
It
was
bothered me
filming
too.
Homecoming, but, like, I feel like if we're gonna close off her chapter on All American, like, she needs to go out with a bang, like, we need to see her.
Right. Or like even if we're gonna start another chapter with her at homecoming, like we want to know more. Like
Right.
what is she gonna be before she arrives on Bringston? Like who is she before she arrives on Bringston?
Exactly.
But unfortunately we did not get a lot of that. But what we did see is that Jordan has had some concerns about, them remaining connected,
Yep.
uh, even though they're going to be apart. And it it left on like they are both going to make it work, and they're going to try their hardest to make it work. um and so here's the part where we say what do we see next from Jordan now that we know sort of his dreams, a lot about football, a lot having to do with football, and a lot having to do with staying connected to Simone. What do you see next sort of for Jordan?
Honestly, what I see next for him is, like, I guess discovering himself in a sense in college,
Mhm.
like, what is his other interests in outside of football, the type of relationships he wants to build, what does he, like, believe in or something, like, I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, what we see next is I just him becoming an adult, like, a grown adult, college kid, like, because like, these kids obviously on the show essentially all grew up, like, very fast, like, they were already acting like
So fast.
adults, like, have their own business, you name it, like, so what I see next for him is definitely him coming into his, like, own, like, because he did
Mhm.
that in season 2 with Simone, but I
Yeah.
wonder how he's gonna develop without her, in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like I feel like that you like took all the stuff that I was gonna say. Like you got it. I want to see who Jordan is becoming, what his interests are, and really sort of solidifying this. Because I think one thing with Jordan that I don't think I've mentioned yet is that he, we've mentioned the fact that he's a hothead. We've mentioned that he's like very much like reacts to things in the
Yeah,
moment.
punching
Um,
Spencer.
uh, Exactly. Very hot and cold, very up and down for sure. Exactly. Getting in fights all the
Yeah,
time for sure. At the slightest bit of inconvenience. He stepped on somebody's shoes, they were upset,
that's a
so he
punch.
punched them.
Yep.
Like literally the sucker punches with Spencer and just start like he has these moments of growth, but then he reverts, which I think is very true of like life. Not everybody's path isn't linear, but I want to see Jordan manage his emotions better.
Mm,
And what does that look like? Like, what does it look like when you don't when you don't get your way? Like, are you going to be angry about it every single time that you don't get your way? And if not, like, how are you going to evolve to a point where you accept that life is the way that life is? And like you said, just mature and be an adult. So that's that's kind of what I want to see with Jordan. And like you said, apart from Simone, like what we talked about in season two, apart from Liv having to tell him this, apart from having to get advice from Spencer, but really seeing who he is sort of like coming into his own on his own, or at least majority on his own, because not everybody, we don't
yeah,
live we don't live on islands, right? We need people.
to keep us
But
grounded.
again,
Yep.
him starting to take more responsibilities for his own actions. Um,
What I think we needed to talk about is Jordan and Olivia's relationship.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
we
like
didn't touch on it.
how do
What
we
we did,
forget the
yeah,
twins? Like, I really like their relationship. Like,
right,
I like because they got close. Like from season one to now, they're literally siblings. Like they're like best friends. They're best friends because no matter the situation, they always give each other advice, which I really like about them.
right, right. What I like about it, and I do wish at times that Jordan was there for Olivia a little bit more.
Yeah,
But I think he's starting to be. I don't think that we get to see it as much on screen, but I love their banter.
yeah,
And her teasing him and them teasing each other. I love that nature of their relationship. But I think what I appreciate about Jordan and Olivia is that it like even though we don't see them together, um even though we don't see them together, I think as often as we think that we should, for them being siblings, I think when it comes down to it, and when there's big moments in either of their lives, that when it comes down to it, they're there for each other.
yeah,
And I think that's what I love about their relationship. And they're going to be there for each other while also like making fun of each other
yeah.
and being real siblings. And so like that's what I love about Jordan and Olivia. And I hope that like as they're in college, like right, they can't maybe as they're in college, like leaning on each other a little bit more
Yeah, I
for
feel like
sure.
they need more scenes.
They do. Because listen, there's scenes like mid season one through season two, their scenes were like
Yeah.
comedy.
The kitchen
Comedy. I
scene
love
with
their
the Grandpa
scenes.
Willie like situation,
The kitchen
that scene
scene,
always gets me.
the scene where they got for their birthday, where they got kidnapped,
Yeah,
quote unquote, like just amazing. Yeah, love the twins. Love the twins.
because they kind of
Who
felt
do you
very.
think is older?
Honestly, I feel like Olivia's older.
You feel like I think because Olivia
Yeah,
acts older, I think that like the writers are gonna make Jordan the actual older
because that kind of
sibling.
reminds me of me and my twin sister. I'm the older one, but she's way more mature than me, and her name is Olivia too. So,
Oh, that's funny. Yes, yes, yes. So, any other questions you wanted to talk about?
are we gonna talk about Jordana?
Jordela. Go ahead. This was more about
Jordan,
Jordan, but
yeah,
yeah, we can talk about Jordela. What do you want to say about Jordela?
they're coming. Like, whether people want to admit it or not, they're
You said
coming.
simply they are coming. Winter is
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, Jordan
Jordala
is
is
coming.
coming.
Prom, like literally, you can't watch the prom scenes and tell me that it's not gonna lead to something more. Like, I don't care if Layla's with Clay. Like,
No, no, I think that yeah, there's been a lot of talk, especially recently, because of all of like the promotion and stuff that's come out for me. And here's the thing, like I said, in my opinion, like in the background, they have been building to this
yeah,
for a very long time, and I think something that I appreciate about Jordan and Layla is that they I think that they get each other, and I think that they go through a lot of similar things, and so they have a certain level of understanding that I don't think they have with other people on
mhm.
this show.
I'm just thinking about the mirrors edit, like that edit, literally. Like,
Yeah.
I shipped them, but like that mirrors edit literally just put everything in perspective. Like,
Yeah, audience, I'll link the edit in the
it keeps getting
description
taken
box so you
down.
can look at it. But it shows for people that are there's like Justin Timberlake song mirrors, there's like an edit of Jordan and Layla, and it shows a lot of their parallels, and a lot of like I didn't even realize that they had. So it's really a good edit for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Any last things on Jordala?
Other than they're coming, I really,
Other than they're coming, other than we should prepare ourselves because they are coming.
I feel like people they underestimate Jordan in a sense because like I
Mm,
remember 401 came out and like people were slamming him for giving her advice, but literally every scene they have together, it's verbatim. Like he always like gives her. They always give each other the advice they need to hear.
mhm.
So like it
Right,
wasn't like
right. No,
unbelievable.
you're right. I think every single conversation they've had is, um, it's about really important things.
Yeah,
So I don't think, yeah, I think that'll continue, and I think that they confide in each other in a lot of ways for sure.
I can't think of anything else.
Other than Jordan is gonna be grown and Jordala is coming.
Yep.
That's how you want to end the pod. But before Jordala comes,
Jamon.
we gotta see what happens with Jabot for
We,
sure.
we love, we love Jamon.
We love Jamon. No, I'm excited to see how they handle Jamon, especially within the first few episodes, like how those crossovers are gonna work for sure.
Well, I think they're still gonna be together through all of season one of Homecoming.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would make sense too,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, this has been fun. We talked about Jordan, where we've seen his character be throughout the seasons, and where we see his character going. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see more from Jordan
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Thank you, Noel, for coming onto the
Thank you
pod.
for having me.
Your first time, but we had such a fun conversation. I really enjoyed it. That's the episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode.